Okay, so welcome to Stroud Homes. We'll just have a look as a general overview as to who is Stroud Homes, what's involved in the construction process, and how we can go about helping you into your new home. Look, to start off with, we don't just rush in and say, here, have a look at this plan, do you like that? Basically, there's a three-step process that we try and work through with our clients. And the first one is to fit the family. So we're not being nosy, but we will ask a few questions about your family situation at the moment, how many people are living in the house, and perhaps in the few years you sort of hope for that to expand as well. So we'll be trying to take all of those sorts of considerations into account. The next one then is to fit the block. Depending on the information you've told us, you may already have land. If that's the case, that's fine. We'll need to tailor to suit your land. If you haven't yet chosen land, then we'll work that into the whole equation as well, because we need to be aware of a number of things that are involved. It's not just a matter of picking a house and then picking a block and hoping like magic they'll all fit. Finally, it's the good old budget. So again, we're not being nosy, but we just need to know a little bit of information as to how much you want to spend, because it'd be completely pointless if we got the first two right and ended up being $50,000 or $100,000 more than what you'd planned to spend. So it's a matter of combining all of those three elements that will give you the absolute best outcome. Okay, so after that, the next one we'll do, we might just have a little look at Stroud Homes. Tell you a little bit about Stroud Homes. Look, Stroud is not the highest profile builder in Australia. There is a chance you may not have even heard of us before you'd actually either seen us at our display home, our display centre, perhaps at Boonah or on the internet. But basically, we believe that in itself gives us a very nice edge against the many other builders out there. The company itself, it's a privately owned company. It's owned and run by James Stroud. If you have had a look at our website, you would have seen a number of videos on there, and that's James talking about the business. He is a licensed builder. He's been in the industry for over 20 years. James is not on the tools these days. You won't see him on a construction site setting up a frame, but he certainly had many years of doing that. So he knows all aspects of the business. He now operates in more of a managerial role. Look, one of the things I really love about working for Stroud Homes is the fact that our designs now, we have over 50 plans we've built up now for you to consider. And every single one of those have actually been designed for the southeast Queensland market. James works with a couple of architects, but one of the main ones is Stephen Maxwell down the Gold Coast. And the design output from both those minds relates directly to the southeast Queensland market. You will find a lot of the national builders will simply use their Sydney and Melbourne templates and trot them out all over the other parts of the country. There's nothing more almost funny in a not so funny way for me when I'll go through some of the newer estates, and a good example is you'll see the big homes. They're often referred to as McMansions, and they don't have any eaves. Now that works fine in Sydney and Melbourne perhaps, but it does not suit our clients. So that's climate. So that's the sort of thing that you get with Stroud Homes, is a specific product that's designed for a specific climate. We're going to have a chat later about warranties in total, but just the two questions we get asked the most is what's the structural warranty and what's the warranty on the timber frames. So the structural warranty is a 7-year one, and the warranty on the timber frame is a 25-year. Now, another thing that I think is really a unique characteristic to Stroud Homes is we offer a service that's a no obligation site evaluation. Now, this can help you in a couple of ways. Even if you already have your land, If you've chosen your block and you're now at the stage of looking at your home, then we'll go out before anything is any money has changed hands or whatever, and we'll offer an objective evaluation on your site. Now, this will relate to various things. Aspect is one of the most common ones. We want to make sure that we've got your new home sited in a correct manner. Also, there's areas of slope and suitability that will affect from one side to another. So all of those things are actually quite valuable information to take from an industry expert. We will even do that if you're at the stage where you haven't bought your land and you might be considering a couple of blocks. You can't quite decide, you can't work out which one you think is best for your needs. That's part of that service. So we'll go out and we have no ties to any of the land, so we can be very objective about that. Okay, so that's a nice little short summary about Stroud Homes. Okay, so we're going to have a look at the third slide now, which is the 3 pillars. So at Stroud Homes, one of the things James has done when he's built the business is basically built it on 3 pillars. 1 is customer service, 2 is build quality, and 3 is value for money. So easy for us to sit here and rattle those off, but I much prefer to give you real examples as to how they actually relate to you as a client. So on the customer service, let's have a look at a few things that we do that we believe is fairly unique to our business. We don't do a huge volume of something like 700, 800, 900 homes in a year. So therefore, we can be a little bit more intimate with our clients. And to that degree, every Friday, our contracts administrator will pick up the phone and make a phone call to all of our clients who are currently with us under construction. There's basically 3 questions there. She no way in the world she wants to take up your time on a Friday afternoon talking about the weather. She'll basically get straight to the point. Hey, this is what we did to your site this week. This is what we plan to do next week. Do you have any questions about the whole process or as to where we're at? So that's a really good little update that we all know what our lives are like with time, and while you'd love to be able to be driving past or having a look virtually every day, there's no way in the world our busy lives allow that. So that just keeps you up to date. The other thing is the site itself. The actual construction site is just so important when you consider once all the preliminary work is done, you've spoken to the consultants who've helped you with the design, and you might have picked your colours and you've got all that sorted. That's all important stuff, but it's just so important when we get to the site that site is managed correctly and supervised in such a manner that gives you the outcome that you deserve. Now, we're very, very proud of the fact that our site supervisors will have a maximum of 10 homes at any one time to have to manage. Now, that might not mean a lot to you, so I can tell you from an industry perspective, the big national builders, they will have anything up to 80 to 90 homes at any one time for one supervisor to have to take care of. So I'll sort of let you work out which process you think might be more conducive to giving you a better outcome. So that's something that we're extremely obsessive with, almost, in that we love to have that capability. Your site is going to have a lot of trades coming and going and going and coming at a whole lot of different times throughout the process, so it must be managed properly. One of the other things with relates to this area of customer service. Basically, we don't build too many homes as individuals in our lives. Most people, I'm often speaking to people that are in their 50s, and this is the first home they built. So it's a big process, and it's a new learning process for them to take on. James has found over the years, over those 20 years he's spent in the industry, typically people and clients will ask the same questions at the same time. Now, to demystify this process, he's produced little FAQs, frequently asked questions, about each stage of the construction process. Now, that won't be dumped on you at the start. you'll get each FAQ of each stage just prior to you entering into that stage. So it can help take a lot of the mystery in there that might be there for you. Let's have a look at build quality. So build quality, yes, to a degree that's subjective. We're probably not objective, but we think we have one of the best quality homes in the market. You don't have to take our word for it, because we use an independent company to do our handovers, and we'll talk more about this shortly. But that company has been around for over 10 years. The name of the company is Handovers.com Proprietary Limited, and they've done in excess of 10,000 homes. Taking all of that into account, they rate us in the top 5% of all the homes they've assessed. And we're pretty proud of that. We think that's a very good benchmark that we've achieved for our quality. You can certainly make those valuations and judgments as you come through our display home and display centre. Finally, just a little bit about value for money. Again, I guess this is a little bit subjective to each person, but we think a really good barometer of this is approximately 7 out of every 10 clients that we have come from referrals. So that probably tells you a little bit about that. The other part of it is we don't have any hidden fees, absolutely no hidden fees with our fixed price contracts. So when you go to the contract with us, you'll have a fixed price, you'll know exactly what you're in for. Okay, so that just gives you a little bit of an understanding as to what the base that's built around Stroud. Okay, we're looking at the fourth slide now relating to guarantees. So let's just have a look at our guarantees. There's a few to talk about. We touched on a couple just prior, but the two that we feel is very unique to us as a builder in the market is the build guarantees, guarantee, and the worry-free service. Let's have a look at the worry-free service first. So we offer and this is a written warranty as well. This is just not something that's slid over the table. This is in writing that at the preliminary stage, if you're not satisfied with our service, if you feel as though we haven't delivered everything that we said that we would, James will actually refund the full amount of your preliminary fees. On top of that, the preliminary process relates to soil tests and contours and the things like that. He will actually give you a copy of those reports that have been done. So that's clearly a very confident statement that has been made in relation to service. The other area that I said is fairly unique to us is our build time guarantees. Now, when your plans come out of council, you would think it's a bit of a no-brainer that the builder will be on site almost straight away, hammering in nails, digging holes, doing what builders do. It's just not the case. What happens in the industry, a lot of you won't know or understand this word, but it's called batching. And quite simply, what a lot of builders do, they put their homes in batches. They wait till they'll get 4 or 5 of the same type of home all ready to go. They'll line them all up, and then their building gangs will go from one to the other. That's very effective for that builder to be able to do that. It's not really good if you were one of the first people in that queue. Now, we've had reports of people having to wait up to 8 and 9 weeks just to get started. So we put it in writing. We will do it in 7 days. So within 7 days of getting your plans out of council, we will be on site and we will be building. Now that's again in writing, and that's a fairly strong indictment on the way we value time as far as your build time goes. The other little part of that is the total build time. So again, we put it in writing that we have a 16-week build time guarantee. Now that takes us from approvals, from the day when it comes out of approval, to completion. Now, easy to say that, but we even back that up further. So James puts $350 on the table for every week that we go over that 16-week period. So as a client who's actually building a home, whether it's for an investment for yourself, time is going to be money. Whether you've got to pay more rent or inconvenience or storage on where you've got some of your furniture maybe, So with Stroud, you have that guarantee locked in up front. Looking back towards the other part of the process, we finished the job, the house has been handed over, 6 months has passed, you'll find Stroud will go knocking on the door, and we want to see if there's anything we can do to rectify anything that may have moved. I think everybody knows, we're building a brand new product in a brand new location each time. So you're going to get a little bit of movement, you're going to get settlement, and that's what James wants to do. He wants to come back and make sure everything is hunky-dory, and that's the time that we would actually do that. The other two warranties we've already spoken about, the 25-year warranty on the frame and the 7-year structural warranty. So that gives you a good overview as to Stroud, the guarantees that Stroud offer. Okay, so we're on the 5th slide now, and we're talking about handovers. Okay, at Stroud, one of the things that we actually do that we believe sets us apart as well is the way we organise our handover inspections. Now, this is pretty much what happens in the industry as a general rule. A builder will build a house, finish the house, get to the stage where ready to do the handover inspection, and the same builder will come in and check his own work. For many years, James has felt this is not particularly effective. It's certainly not objective, because it's a little bit like sitting down and doing a test and then getting to mark your own answers. So for some time now, we've actually worked with an independent company called Handovers.com Proprietary Limited, and they come in and do the final inspection. So you've got that independent third party looking over the job that we've done as a builder and producing a report that summarises what needs to be rectified or fixed back up to a point where they will pass it. Now, once that report is done, James doesn't dispute it. It is simply, that is given straight to the site supervisor, and it is attended to. Now, when that assessment is being done by the Handovers.com people, it's not done in the dead of night or anything like that. You're actually invited to be there as well, so you can actually have a look and ask questions and so on. So we're very open about the whole process. Now, I mentioned a little bit about this before. Handovers.com Proprietary Limited have inspected over 10,000 homes. They've been around for 10 years, more than 10 years in fact. So they've obviously got a little bit of history under their belt. And again, as I mentioned, they rate us in the top 5% for build quality. So we're really proud of that. It's another thing that has happened over the years that we've used them. We've had 2 zero defect reports. Now you might say, gee, 2 zero defect reports, it doesn't sound like many. But have a think about what we're talking here. We're talking about a 4-month, 16-week process of building maybe a 200 square metre, 300 square metre home. Getting to that end of that process and not having a single thing to be fixed. So that is something we're extremely proud of. So that's just a good overview as to how we handle our handover inspection and what it actually means for you. Rightio, so we're on slide number 6 and it's finance. Let's have a quick chat about finance matters in general. Firstly, finance itself. Really important part of the whole process, isn't it? Neither of us are going to do very well if you haven't been able to organise your finance. Look, some people come to us, they're all ready to go, other people haven't. So we can certainly help. We have nothing to do with it. We have no ties with any particular company, but we do work with a number of brokers, both mortgage brokers and lenders, to offer you a really overall convenient service. That these people are prepared to either start with a simple phone call if you wish, and they'll even come out to your home. So that's another part of the Stroud service. Under the same umbrella, let's have a quick talk about well, it's broadly called the First Homeowners Construction Grant, these days being called the Great Start Grant. Look, if you're not eligible for this, then you won't be that interested. But look, there's certainly a lot of people out there that do fall into this category. We won't get into a whole lot of detail here, but essentially, as long as you haven't owned any property, That's the first part of the criteria. Then you're going to be eligible perhaps for this grant. Now this is a $15,000 grant. That's a pretty good leg up when you think about it. So certainly that would be worth checking out. If you're not sure, then one of the mortgage people or the lenders that I was talking about before, they will be able to help you with that. There's another little kick to this as well. What it means is there's no stamp duty on land. Now this is on purchases up to $250,000 of land, which pretty much will cover most. And even if you are buying land that's in excess of that as a first homeowner, the rate is actually reduced anyway. But generally speaking, there's no stamp duty on land. Now that will be saving you over $5,000 on an average block. So putting that together with the grant, you're getting about a $20,000 leg up on your first home. So if you're certainly eligible, go for it. That's worth having. Finally, just a little word about stamp duty. I mentioned before about stamp duty on land. So certainly if you're a first home owner, you won't have to worry about that. But stamp duty is levied on land. There's no doubt about that. And apart from being a first home owner, there's no way to get around that. However, not everybody is aware that stamp duty is not charged on the construction of a new home, which is completely different. Of course, if you go and buy an existing home that's already been built and been around and lived in and so on, you'll be paying stamp duty on that whole purchase. Whereas when you construct a new home, you're only actually charged stamp duty on the land. Now, on average, that can be about an $8,000 saving. There's a whole lot of other good reasons to build a new home, but that's certainly one big one. All right, so that just gives you a little bit of a summary about finance matters. 7. Okay, we're on slide 7. We're talking about site classification. All right, let's have a little bit of a talk about soil tests and how your site will be classified. Regardless of where you build and who you build with, this is something that you have to do to get the process started. As a matter of fact, having made the decision to build and get started, this is the first part of the process. So, what does it all involve? What's it all mean? Basically, what we need to do is get some experts on your site. The builder won't be involved in doing this. You'll find there's specific companies out there that have a lot of skills in this area, and they will actually come onto your site. They will drill down into the ground, only quite small holes, probably only around about the circumference of a coffee cup, but they'll go down a fair way. They'll be wanting to go down about 2 meters or so. What they do then is they extract that soil from that borehole. They'll take it back to their laboratory. Pretty much in a very broad sense, they'll split that in two. They'll put half in water and they'll put the other half and bake it in an oven. So what they're trying to do is to see what is your very own block reaction to water and to droughts, to dryness and so on. Because what essentially they're trying to determine is now how much is this land going to move? How much will it expand and how much will it contract? As a result of that process, and that doesn't take very long, I might add, you'll probably have that done in about 7 to 10 days, you'll have the results. But as a result of that process, they will then assign a soil type to that particular land. Now, it's not assigned to an estate, it's assigned to each individual block, and it can vary from one block to another. Once they've done that, and some of the more common types will probably be either S, M or H. Probably most of them will fall into that area, and in fact most will fall into the M or the H area. Having done that, that tells the engineers as to just exactly how do we need to go around designing a slab that is going to be strong enough to withstand the expansion and contraction that has already been determined on that soil. This is an extremely important part of the process. It's not really a fun part, it's not a part that you see or looks good, but if you think about it, your house is going to be sitting on this slab for the rest of its life basically. So it's pretty important to get this right, and as I say, the builders don't have any input here. It's a matter of the engineers determining what your soil is like and designing a slab that is suitable. Okay, so hopefully that's demystified a little bit of soil tests for you. Okay, so we're on the 8th slide, concept to construction. Right, let's have a little talk about the process of building a new home. Some people have done it once or twice, others not at all, so there may be a little bit of mystique about it all. So what we try and do here at Stroud is to simplify everything and be very upfront with you and tell you what to expect. Now, the first part we're going to have a look at, we've broken this whole process into 2 parts. The first part we call preliminary, and in a minute we'll have a look at the part called construction. So this preliminary part, we're going to say it's around about 2 months. Can be less and it can be more. That will be largely driven by you. But as a good guide, 2 months is a good time to allow for this process. Now we're talking about from the time you've actually walked into the builder's display centre or the display home, sat down and started to have a talk about constructing. So we're going from day 1. So from that point, at least how it works with Stroud, we'll have a talk to you, as we've already said, to determine a whole lot of other things before we start talking about plans and designs. But once we get to that stage, we'll give you a price on the spot. And in fact, if it's a standard plan, we can give you a written quotation in 24 hours. If you've done a few customisations, work to it, a little bit of modification perhaps, might take us a couple of more days, but we are talking just days, not weeks, to get a full written quote. Now this quote is quite detailed. It is the sort of quote that your lender will be wanting to have a look at because it details every single thing that goes into the home. So the lender knows that the money that they're lending you is for an asset that is viable and ready to be lived in. So once you've had a look at that quotation, you may want to add or change a few things, or you may think, yep, that's pretty good. Let's get going. What is the next step? So for us at Stroud, our next step is we would like to join hands with you basically and do a HIA preliminary agreement. Now, this is a little different to a lot of builders. What a lot of builders at this point will be trying to get you locked into a contract almost immediately, take 5% of your money, and that's the end of it as far as that part goes. Not with us. All we want to do is have a preliminary agreement, as I said. That is not a contract for us to build anything. That's simply an agreement that you have made for us to come onto your land, do that soil test that we spoke about, and do a few other things, determine the contour of the land. We'll get some preliminary drawings organised. We will get a certifier out there to have a look over the block and so on. And depending on whether it's a residential block or acreage, there'll be a few other things we may need to do. It's basically all the prep work in getting ourselves organised. As I sort of touched on before with the soil test, this has to be done. We have to do this before we get started anyway. Now, at this stage, we've gone past that point where we've given you a quote. So we've given you a quotation. The only thing I'll mention with that quote, it won't be necessarily 100% right at that point because we haven't done the soil test. We don't know exactly what's underneath the ground. We'll have a bit of an estimate on it, but having got to this stage now with the preliminary agreement, we've completed those tests. All those possible mystery factors are taken out, and we can actually offer you a fixed price contract that you can go to if you so desire. Now, at this stage, we spoke about guarantees before, and one of them was the service, the money-back service guarantee. So that is actually kicked in at this stage as well. So again, you will drive the pace of this development. But as a guide, we say allow about 14 days for that whole process from the time you've said, let's do a preliminary agreement, let's get these services checked. If you're then ready to keep moving and you're happy to go on, then we'll sit down with you and go through and do a contract. Again, it's a HIA, standard industry construction contract. At that point, you'll be paying 5% deposit. That 5% is not including your land and your house. It's only the 5% of the actual construction part. You will have paid us some fees prior to that to do the soil test. those payments are taken off the 5%. So you're definitely not paying that as an extra. At this stage, we're ready to go to council. So we actually will lodge those on your behalf. We cover all the fees and applications and so on. Typically, councils in the southeast, we allow about 3 to 4 weeks. Generally, we say about a month. So if you've sort of been following the days as I've been working through this little first part of the preliminary process, we're now at that 2-month stage. Because we're basically half-half. One half of that 2 months was spent with council, our plans in council. The other half, we've been doing soil tests, we've been organising contracts, and basically getting all that preliminary work done. So we'll finish up there, and that's the end of the preliminary part, and we'll have a look at construction soon. Alright, so let's continue talking about the concept of construction. We've just went through talking about the preliminary part. You probably noticed, just when we were talking about the preliminary part, that you were involved a lot. That's a part of the process that you are actively involved, doing quite a few things. This part is very much the builder's job, so this is where we really get in and take over. So our plans have come out of council. We're ready to go. Remember the guarantee, well, one of the guarantees we had was we're going to be on site within 7 days of getting your approvals. So we're on site working, and within 16 weeks we have actually completed that construction as part of our building guarantee. So during the part of that construction though, during those 16 weeks, we're fairly certain you want to keep an eye on things and you'd love to go along and see how things are progressing. So what we actually offer is 5 escorted site visits. Now these will be with the site supervisor, so he is the person who's running the whole site, knows exactly where the job's at, if there's any challenges or if there's anything that needs to be discussed. That's a great time to do it, but essentially it's just to give you a look as to how things are progressing and how your house is moving along. So you don't have to do those. It's not as though we make you turn up, but it's certainly a great, I'd certainly recommend you to do at least a few of them. Now, you might recall in the previous time we were talking about the preliminary process, I mentioned about a construction contract. So unlike a normal house and land contract where you'd go and buy an existing house, they generally settle in 30 days, and whatever you might have paid, 400 odd thousand, you've got to come up with that 400,000 in 30 days. With a construction contract, it's a little bit less harmful, so to speak. So back when you signed the contract, you paid 5%. You haven't paid anything else now for some time, and if things have progressed at a normal pace, we're probably about 6 to 8 weeks down the track, and we've poured the slab. Now that's the first progress payment that we will ask you or your bank for, and there will be 3 other main progress payments when the frame goes up, when we reach lock-up stage, which as the name suggests, the home is at the stage where it can be locked up, windows and doors and so on, and when we're at the fit-out stage. So we're starting to put in cabinets and door furniture and lighting and things like that. So they're the 4 main progress payments that are required. Now, your bank will be very familiar with that, don't worry about it. They understand construction contracts, they're very used to them, and they will be able to work with us on that. The good thing about that is you don't have that 400 odd thousand coming out basically on day one and having to pay interest on it. It's only a progressive build up as the home is built. Ultimately, we'll get down to the final payment, and it's obviously time to hand the home over and the keys, which is pretty much probably what you're working for the whole time, and certainly we are as a builder as well. So that's a small final payment to be made, and then handover's done, and lucky days, you get the keys and you're all off. So that's basically the whole process. I hope that doesn't sound too onerous to you, but it certainly is a very workable process, and Stroud work hard to actually make it as enjoyable as possible. Slide 10, and it's about brands. Okay, so let's have a quick talk about brands. The brands that Stroud Homes use throughout their home will be brands that, and I'll rattle off a few names to you in a minute, but there'll be brands that I would expect 90%, maybe more, of our clients would recognise them straight away. We're not in the business of trying to source a cheap, imported, no-name branded product. That's a very short-term sort of a philosophy for both us and for you. Not just for you, because we've already been through the warranties and we've told you how long we warrant the homes. Now, some of the brands, I'll just name just a few of them. I would think you'd know a lot of these. So Colorbond, Caesar Stone, do the bench tops, Boral, involved in the masonry products, Hume doors and timber, Blanco into the kitchen now, Dishlex, mainly dishwashers, Godfrey Hurst carpets. With paint we use Wattle. Again, back in the kitchen we'll be using Westinghouse with our upright cookers, our stoves, our cooktops and so on. In the bathroom we'll be using Caroma and James Hardy. I'm sure you've heard of them, but more so in the building products area. So that just gives you a little bit of an example. What can I just say one more thing? What's the advantage of having a good quality brand for you? Well, quite simply, it's about trust, basically. So you would know those brands, as I've said. You should have some level of trust with them. But if something does go wrong, you've actually got a local agent to be able to be involved with any warranty work that is prepared, and it's something that you can actually even build on with your customer service and extensions and so on. So we feel as though that's a very important part of making up your home. Okay, we're on slide 11 and it's about termites. Alright, let's have a talk about termite protection and what do we actually do here at Stroud to help you with this. So firstly, everything that I'm going to tell you about the termite protection we use is included in our price as absolute standard. There's no half measures here. This is the full measure of what we actually do, because it is such an important area. Whether or not you're on acreage or a residential style block, you still will have potential exposure to termites. So we use a product called Termiglass. Termiglass is, as the name suggests, it's actually glass. It's crushed glass into fairly fine particles. Now, there's a cavity that will actually go around the entire perimeter of every home. On the inside of that cavity is the frame. I think most of you would be familiar with that. The frame that will sit on the slab. There's a little small cavity, and then outside of that there's the bricks or the render or whatever it is your house is constructed out of. It's in that cavity that the product called Termiglass is actually deposited, and that is run around the entire perimeter of the home. Now this provides a protection to your home in such a manner that if termites do attempt to invade, that particular product, the Termiglass, is too hard for them to chew, it's too heavy to move around, yet it's too small for them to actually crawl through. You know, one of the really good things about this, apart from the fact that it works, and James has been using it for many, many years and has had no problems at all, but it's no chemicals involved. It's an entirely non-toxic and chemical-free product. The other little part to tell you about is some people think of this, and it's a good question. What about the slab where the plumbing pipes come up? What's the story there? Can't they get through there? Well, the Termiglass people have even thought of that. So they have what they call a frisbee collar that actually goes round, and the pipe actually sits in there that enrobes the pipe and is concreted into the slab. So it's a pretty smart and well thought about system. There's another little component as well, a little bit difficult to explain, but on that first course of bricks from the ground up, there's a barrier as well. A barrier is actually sat on that course, that first course of bricks, and that will actually provide, apart from providing a barrier, it actually will provide a external visual that you can see quite clearly if any termites have been trying to burrow through. I might also mention that the product itself is actually compliant with Australian standards, so that's a very, very important thing when you're considering a termite protection product. It does come with a 12-year warranty, which is pretty solid. You need to have annual inspections. They will cost very minimal. It's around about $160 to $180 a year. And when you think about the value of the investment you're checking on, it's worth every cent. So that's the product that we use to protect your home. Okay, we're on slide number 12. We're going to talk about inclusions. Okay, so let's have a talk about what exactly is included in your Stroud home. Here at Stroud, we have 3 levels, so you've got 3 choices. It starts with fully loaded, that's the top level. You then go to silver, and then potentially you can go to bronze. So what I'm going to talk to you today about is the fully loaded level, which is certainly the one that most of our clients choose. So firstly, let's have a look at the kitchen. So if we start off with the benchtop, Caesar stone, it's a quartz, 95% quartz product, and we supply that as standard to the benchtops. You've got over 20 colours to choose from there. Absolutely beautiful product, scratch resistant, chip resistant, mold resistant, and it just looks good too. So that comes as standard. As far as we'll stay on the bench for a minute or two. As far as the sink goes, so we use a Blanco sink. It's stainless steel. It's a 1.5 bowl, and we put an absolutely gorgeous gooseneck tap on it. That's a swivel tap as well. It looks fantastic, and it actually performs just as well. Okay, so probably underneath that sink or to one side, we'll have the dishwasher. We provide a Dishlex stainless steel dishwasher. Really well-respected brand that operates extremely well. Just move over to the drawers in the cutlery bank there, and I don't know if everyone's aware of them, but it's relatively new of the last few years, is the soft close mechanism that you can get on the drawers. Now it's just beautiful. The best way to do it is, if you haven't, is just to go and try one. But basically, the typical drawer, you'll push the drawer, it'll slam, it'll hit, it'll bounce back out, it won't quite close. Soft close will never do that. You can push it as hard as you want, it'll hit the brake about an inch or so outside of closing, and then softly close itself. Just a beautiful part of the product. So that comes standard in the cutlery bank of drawers with our fully loaded inclusions. Just then over to the cooking. So we use Westinghouse, a very well respected brand, a gorgeous 900mm wide. If you're not familiar with the sizes, 600mm is your standard oven. This is a 900mm, so it's extremely big oven, fantastic for cooking, baking. It's an electric oven, and at top, on the cooktop, is gas. You've got 5 burners. That includes a wok burner. Now, because it's 900 as well as the oven, it means you don't have your handles of the pans and the saucepans knocking against each other. You've got that lovely expansive space. Looks beautiful and is a fantastic oven. The feedback we get from our clients is excellent. Finally, when you cook, you can't avoid it, can you? You're going to have some steam and grease and so on that's coming out. So we provide, again, a 900mm Westinghouse canopy. Now, a canopy looks good for starters, but for it to be effective, it needs to be ducted externally. You'll find a lot of the canopies on the market, and the ones that builders use are the recirculating models. They do not do a very good job, I can guarantee you that. What they do is they'll take up the steam and the grease, they'll filter it and clean it, but then they just push it straight back out into the kitchen. So with ours, we duct it entirely up through the ceiling, and we'll take it outside into the eave. So it's a really important part of cooking. So that's the kitchen.
Yep.
Okay, slide 13, and we're on bathroom inclusions. All right, let's continue with the inclusions, and we'll have a look at the bathroom now. Firstly, with the bench, so just like the kitchen, we provide Caesar stone as the bench top. Again, you've got over 20 colours that you can choose from there, and that's not just in the main bathroom, that's in the ensuite as well. As far as the basin goes, so we use a beautiful basin. It's a vitreous china, and it's semi-recessed, which simply means it basically it looks good. It has a very striking appearance when you see it attached to the Caesar stone bench top. Within that basin, the plugs, so we have a push and locked style of plug, so you don't have to have a separate little plug flying around all over the place. It comes already with an overflow filter, so that you can't leave the tap running and with the plug down and flood the place. And on top of that, we put an extremely stylish Phoenix brand flick mixer tap. It looks absolutely beautiful and very, very easy to operate. So let's just have a look at the bath. So we use a Chroma bath. It's an acrylic bath. It's 1525 mils, so it's a good size bath. It's moulded. It's actually moulded to the shape of your body. And that's included in the Stroud bathroom. Just in the bathroom still, we'll just finish off there with a couple of things. Look, we do the full accessories, and the accessories, I might point out, are made by the same manufacturer who does our taps. So as I mentioned before, it's Phoenix. What that gives you is a continuity of design and flow from tap through to accessory. There's some of the accessories will provide a shower shelf. On that shelf, that provides a soap holder, shampoos, conditioners, and so on. Go on that. Toilet roll holders, hand towel, small hand towel holders, and the large double bath towel holders as well. So that's all included as part of the range. In the actual bath, we'll have a spout, a beautiful looking spout from Phoenix, and a flick mixer style tap controller. Now here's something special. In the shower, the old standard is to put a rose on the wall or something similar. We don't do that. We actually use, again, it's a Phoenix product, but it's a simulated rain head. Now that actually is attached to the ceiling, so it's just like standing out in the rain, but you're in the comfort of your shower, giving yourself a good wash off. It's just beautiful. So that's all absolutely standard with the Stroud fully loaded inclusions. I'll just finish off with the toilet. You think a toilet is a toilet? It's not. There's a big difference. The toilet that we use here in our fully loaded inclusions is a full vitreous china toilet for starters. So that means that both the cistern and the pan is made of vitreous china. It's none of this plastic polymer, cheap sort of a cheap looking and cheap feeling product. It's also, when you get to the S-pipe, anybody who's been unfortunate enough to have to clean toilets will know what I'm talking about. If you've got that exposed S-pipe at the back, it's extremely hard to keep that cleaned and maintained. Our toilets don't have that. It's what's called as a closed couple, and that's all sealed off. So that just finishes off the bathroom, a beautiful complement of product to finish off arguably the second most important room in your house. Okay, we're on slide 14, still inclusions, talking about flooring, lighting and driveways. Okay, so let's continue with our inclusions. We've got a little bit of a mixed bag here. We'll talk about lighting, flooring options, both internal and external, and let's see what we've got. So firstly with lighting. So with the fully loaded options with Stroud Homes, we provide all lighting for you. It's in the form, most of the lighting is in the form of the Oyster light, and that comes in two sizes, in the 300 and the 400. The 300 will be in the smaller rooms, the robes and so on, and the 400 is a nice expansive light for the larger areas. Just in the garage, So we provide a twin fluorescent light that'll give you plenty of light to go throughout the garage. That's pretty well the internals finished. Let's have a look at the external lighting. So you've got a couple of choices there depending on your facade. The bunker light will match in nicely if you're trying to create some form of a colonial or a country look. And then we have the more modern up-down light that's probably going to fit in with the more the rendered style houses. So both of those lights are very nice as far as looking attractive, but they're also extremely effective. Finally, just to finish off the external lights, we do provide a sensor light or a motion light, some people will know them as, and as the name suggests, as the light senses motion, bang, it'll come on. So generally you locate that light possibly outside the garage or outside the front door probably, so that any visitors that come up automatically that comes on. Let's just move inside for a minute, and we'll have a look at our flooring options. So your fully loaded Stroud home comes completely covered with flooring. You don't have to worry about that when you move in. Firstly, with the carpet, carpet will go into the bedrooms, generally the media room. If some of the designs have a study, perhaps it'll be carpeted there, but certainly media and bedrooms. Now we have quite a large range of colour. Firstly, we use the brand of Godfrey Hirst. It's a very well respected brand of carpet. It not only does it look good, but it actually wears extremely well. If anybody has heard of the DHA, the Defence Housing Association, run houses for their personnel, this is actually the carpet they use. So obviously they're after a quality product for their own staff, but also a hard wearer as well. And that's certainly what you get. Now on that carpet as well, we provide a foam underlay, very nice underfoot, so it just completes the package. In the tiled areas, which is pretty much everywhere where I didn't mention before, but certainly it'll be in the open plan living, the hallway and so on, we use an expansive 450mm ceramic tile. Now that's bigger than most, and it actually opens up the area and makes it look a little bit bigger than perhaps it is, and you get quite a wide range of choice and texture. So that's the internals. Just move outside for a tick, and outside the front door in the entry, or the porch as it's commonly referred to, we also put tiles there. It won't be exactly the same tile as inside, because we want to put a non-slip tile here, one that's got a little bit of grip on it, because this is potentially going to have water in rain and rainy periods and dew and so on, so you don't want your guests or yourself slipping all over it. So we put a non-slip tile and we cover off that whole area. With the driveway, so as part of the inclusion here is we'll include 60 square metres of broom grey concrete, and that'll be shaped to a design of your choice that'll accommodate your vehicles to go into the garage from the road. So that's essentially all those bits and pieces covered off. Okay, we're on slide 15, still on inclusions, and we're talking about doors, basically. Okay, so let's have a look at, continue the looking at what goes into your Stroud home. This time we're going to have a look at doors, door furniture and windows, etc. So let's start with doors. So firstly, your front door. Some will say the window to the house, but it certainly is an important part that sets up the look that you're trying to create. We give you a lot of choice here. Firstly, we use Hume doors. I've probably mentioned that before, but we use Hume doors, and you get some really contemporary choices, or you can go a little bit traditional if you prefer as well, again depending on the look you're trying to create. You've got, of the more modern style, the glazed doors that most people will be used to with estates and homes these days. You've got 5 different choices there, four horizontal strips in various styles and sizes, and one vertical one there on the end. And then there's also a couple more choices. So if you like a very traditional look, we've got a stained glass style door that you can choose from. It's got the nice rose petals and so on. And then finally there's a couple of different plain timber style doors. If you just wanted to stain it perhaps, or you just wanted to paint it, again, depending on that look, the option is there. That range is called the Savoy range from Hume. Okay, so let's stay with doors, but we'll move on to door furniture. So, and what we mean by that, of course, is the handles that will go onto the doors. Firstly, with your front door there, we use Gainsborough, and the product is actually called the Tri-Lock. It's one of the more premium locking mechanisms for front doors. It looks absolutely gorgeous as far as style goes. You've got a brushed product you can choose from, you've got a highly polished, and then you've got a copper style one if you like that look as well. So what the Tri-Lock essentially does is, apart from providing a lovely contemporary look to your door or your home, it actually gives you fantastic security. Both in two ways. You've got the opportunity just to simply push a button and you're locked. It's as easy as that. If you're in a hurry, just want to nip out for a few minutes, that's fine. But it also has a key deadlock if you want the added security of a deadlock. So that's all part of the Tri-Lock. Now with our door furniture on the internals, so we're inside the house now, so we're talking like, the doors that go into the bedroom perhaps, the toilet, the bathroom and so on. We offer a Gainsborough again. It's again continuing that continuity of design throughout your home. 4 different styles of lever handles. The lever handle, look, in my opinion, it looks fantastic, but it's not just that. It's so easy to use and operate. You can basically open it with one finger. It's as simple as that. So we offer you 4 different styles. Again, you've got a mixture of brushed and polished and so on. I might mention just with the privacy locks that come as standard with Stroud Homes. So on all your toilets, all your bathrooms and the master bedroom, these internal handles will have a privacy lock that's included as standard. Let's have a look at the garage door. So we use a door that's provided by Dynamic Doors, and it's a panel lift door. You're able to operate that so simply because you've got 2 remotes that will probably find their way to your cars. But it also has a fixed pad that actually goes on the side wall, probably next to the light switch, that if you haven't got your remote handy, then you've always got the opportunity to open and close the door there. So that's how we finish off our garage door. Let's have a look at, well, we're still with doors, we'll have a look at the sliding doors. So the sliding glass doors, now this will generally be the ones that will come onto your alfresco. Probably a lot of the laundries will have these as well. They come absolutely standard with security screens. So they're secured with security screens right throughout. On the windows, every single window that opens will have a fly screen as well throughout the whole home. And I might mention for those that are interested in security, all the windows, all the opening windows and all the doors have keyed locks, and those locks are key to lock, so you don't have to have about 20 or 25 different keys, and that's a really nice part of the whole process that you get with Stroud. That just summarises our doors and our door furniture.
A second us. Go.
Okay, we're on slide 16, inclusions. It's other. Look, this is the last inclusions part that we'll talk about. It's got a little bits and pieces of everything here, so we'll just move our way through it. Look, one thing that we strive to do in creating your new Stroud home is giving you a home that basically you can move into and hang your clothes and unpack your boxes, because there's enough to do when you first move into a new home than having to worry about a whole lot of other little things. Now, some of those little things I'm talking about are things like a clothesline, a TV antenna and a letterbox. within virtually the first 24 hours, you will be washing your clothes, you'll be wanting to sit and look at TV, or you might not have the time to do that, you'll probably have the kids doing that, but they will be required, those services. So nothing worse than moving in and not having them than thinking, God, there's another thing I've got to do. So with your clothesline, we provide quite a large fold-down clothesline. It's 2.4 metres wide, it has 12 strands, and as the name suggests, it folds down, so you can put it down out of the way if you wish. TV antenna, bang, it's there, it's included, don't worry about it, you just have to plug in the TV. Letterbox, we provide a lovely looking letterbox, 4 different styles to choose from, and secure as well. So it's got a steel actual holder where the mail will go in, and a lockable door on the rear. Just moving over to getting towards the stage where you've probably done all your paperwork, you've done all your planning as far as the designs go, gets to having to choose those colours, and for some people this becomes extremely frightening. Or even if you're on the other end of that scale and you feel as though you've got a pretty good handle on what you want, it's great to have an expert to be there on hand just to guide you. So whether or not you just need that simple guiding and pointed in the right direction, or whether or not you want someone to basically, hey, help me, I need assistance, we provide that in the form of an interior designer. So she's a qualified interior designer. She's very familiar with all our products and the choices that you have, and she'll guide you through that process to whatever level you actually want. That's all included as part and parcel of our service. I'll just mention, have a little think about your alfresco. As Queenslanders and Australians, we spend a lot of time out in our outdoor areas. The way we finish off our alfrescos is second to none. The ceiling is completely lined and sheeted. There's no exposed beams, rafters, whatever, and you'll have a light out there. It just finishes off a beautiful looking product. Little thing that's a bit boring, it won't mean much to you perhaps, but James actually uses a larger than industry standard gutter. It's a 150mm gutter for those of you who are technical minded. I think you'll find a normal one's around about the 115 mark. So what does all that mean? Quite simply, that's going to hold a huge volume of water compared to the standard one, which simply relates to the fact that you'll have less downpipes, therefore the aesthetics of your home is going to look a little bit nicer. Very small thing, but it does flow on to be a bigger one. Now, just as far as some of the more structural parts of the construction of your home, one thing that we allow for is, we spoke about soil types before, so we allow as absolute standard is an M or a moderate style type of soil, and we also allow for a 0.5 of a metre for cut and fill. If you are in the circumstance where you require to have concrete pumps to actually get the concrete in to reach the slab, obviously there's an access problem, that's all included as standard as well. With the actual slab, we spoke before about the slab with the soil type, but one thing we didn't mention is the porch and the alfresco. Both of those are concreted, but they don't have to be concreted with structural concrete. But what James does, he actually does one single pour, so therefore your alfresco and your porch will be part of the main slab. The advantage to you with that is if it's done separately, and it is cheaper to do it separately and with non-structural concrete, but the advantage to you is that you will not have any cracking, you won't get any weeds going through there, you won't get ants, it's just a nightmare. So that's a really nice thing to be aware of that we do here at Stroud. Just with your various applications and insurances, I often get asked, is all of that covered? And yes, it is. So it's all part of it. All the applications to council, all the insurances, all the levies, all fees, the whole lot. There's no extra charge there. 6-star energy rating. A lot more people are becoming aware of this. That's the minimum standard we must achieve for your home. Otherwise, we won't be able to get a completion certificate. Now, what we guarantee and warrant to do for you is to achieve that 6-star energy rating no matter what. You will find there's a lot of builders in the market that will take a bit of a punt when they take you on, but if it turns out that when they get to that stage of getting their rating and it doesn't come up to scratch, maybe the orientation of the home is not quite favourable, they'll tap the client on the shoulder and say, hey, we need a little bit more money here, we've got a couple more $1,000, maybe we've got to put more insulation in one wall or one ceiling or something like that to get our energy rating up. We don't do that at Stroud. If that is required, we cop that ourselves. We'll not ask you for anything for that 6-star energy rating. We've mentioned borrel before with the bricks. So if you're having an exposed brick, either a single, what's called a single brick, or a double height brick. If you may not be aware of what the double height bricks is, you've probably seen them. They're a bit like small blocks. Both of those options are open to you through the borrel brick ranges. No extra charge for that at all. Just with the painting, go to the internal now for a minute in the main, and when we paint your walls and your ceilings, your architraves and so on, we actually do a 3-coat system. 3-coat being 1 undercoat, 2 top coats, and we even allow you to have a feature wall anywhere in the house that you want at a contrasting colour if you so desire. Have a think about your architraves and your skirting boards. If you wish, we will allow those and do those for you as a contrasting colour as well. So really, really important things that do all add up when you take into account the appearance and long-term wearing of your home. And that's basically it for the inclusions.
Last one, good, go.
Okay, slide 17, garage options. Look, finally, let's have a look at the options you've got with the garage. We regularly get people who say, yeah, I've got to go and build a shed, it's going to cost me another $10,000 or $20,000 or whatever. That's fine, but we just do give you a little option there, or a little choice. If you just need a little bit more storage, we can actually tap into the storage that's already there under the eave and extend the garage out a little bit. Now we can start that for as little as $1,400. That's starting to tap into the storage space of your eave and just gives you that little bit more space. If you need a bit more than that, you might want to go as far as even things like adding a 3rd garage, adding a double, which we call a quad, capable of taking 4 cars. It may not be 4 cars, maybe you'll use that other part of the storage. The benefit there is it's actually becomes part of the construction of the house, part of the roof line, and it doesn't look like something that's been tacked on the side or the back at a later point. So just keep that up your sleeve. That might be something that'll help some of you that make your home look better, service better, because you don't have to walk out in the rain to get it and whatever, but also will be a little bit more economical.